What is up, guys? It is me, Troy, and I'm here getting another video. This is video number 3.
Hear that old tin can kicking out a crazy beat.
So, with my favorite phrase of that being said, in October, I did manage to read 4 books. The first book that I managed to read, which I've already spoken about, was Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin. Go Tell It on the Mountain, which I gave 4 stars. And I do need to make a separate video of that, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. So I enjoyed that book. I love that a lot more than Giovanni's Room. I thought Giovanni's Room was scary. It was on the brink of risky. It was really smoky to me. I really enjoyed that part of the book. But Go Tell It on the Mountain was great nonetheless. It is kind of a coming of age story of a young boy living with, his mother, his 2 sisters, and his older brother and his father, who's a preacher. His father, of course, has put a lot of standards on his family, while simultaneously holding a bit of contempt for said son that is leading the story. For me, going into the book, I assumed the father's contempt came from him recognizing that his youngest son was gay. However, that was not the case as the book continues to blossom forward. And, from the first section of the book, we get the son's, his narrative, his particular perspective, and reflections and things of that nature. And then the book breaks down into the story of his aunt, who is also a key player in the book, his father, and then the lady named Elizabeth, which I'm going to try to keep that all on the low. But the point is that it's a book filled with so many interlocking and changing story threads, all of them combined, coming into one. And I really loved how Baldwin went into each of these different characters and not only laid out, the road of their connecting stories, but also what was it that made them be the characters who they are. And that, of course, is filled with a lot of tragedy, a lot of broken promises, a lot of very bad decisions on their part. And then the final act or chapter of the book ends up with them reverting back to the child's kind of point of view, as we, the readers, is given a lot of details regarding his history, and as well as how he became the contempt of his father's eyes. So many details not to give away. But I thoroughly enjoyed the book. Of course, Baldwin has a fantastic way of drawing you into the narratives, each and every one. One of my favorite things about books is the ability to captivate my imagination, and he does that very well. And captivated, and as well as leading me, the reader, into these individual stories. I've read some authors where they just don't know how to have the magic, and I'm telling you, he has the magic of pulling you in. Now, I will say with that, he also, to me, it's just my opinion, he also has the magic of pulling you in, but also confusing the hell out of you. And that really struck me when we, the reader, reverted back to, the story of the young boy, and toward the end of the book, when he was fleeing out of the church from his, they had one of those worship ceremonies where he was kind of speaking in tongues and flailing around on the floor as his father preached. But he ended up fleeing out of the church, and then the father followed him, and I think he fell, and then that's when that whole esoteric and dream, is that balloons caught in the tree? That esoteric and sort of dream sequence matter kind of took place. It really just confused the hell out of me. But anyway, as I said, I did enjoy that book. So, Go Tell on the Mountain. I hope I didn't give away the details, because I suck at not spoiling books. So after I finished reading Go Tell It on the Mountain, I read the Makioka sisters, and I'm not going to say that man's name. He's a Japanese author, and the book is translated. I gave this book 5 stars because I so enjoyed the story, even though the story is so slow burning and low key and subtle. It is a story about 4 Japanese women before World War II living this very posh and wealthy lifestyle. Anyway, there was 4 sisters. The eldest sister was Saruko. The next one was Sachiko. Now Sachiko is mainly the leading character in this whole drama. Then there's the next one under her, which was Yukiko, which is not a very unforgettable character, because a lot of the plot surrounded her marriage or attempts at being married. And then there's the youngest sister, which was Taiko, and of course, being the baby of the family, she was the most rebellious. But anyway, they're living a particular posh lifestyle, although, given to them by their father, who had a business. I forgot what it was. I think it had something to do with clothing and fabric, textiles. But given pre-World War II, given the standards of Japan and that sort of thing, I don't want to get into too many details right now, but honor and the face of the family is very important. And I mean, so important that they use a lot of intricate and very subtle tactics to maintain that face. But the grounding or surrounding story is about this family trying to marry the third daughter, Yukiko. And once they can marry Yukiko, Taiko, the baby of the family, can get married. Now, here's the thing. Yukiko is a very eccentric kind of character who does not have very much any luck with being paired with other men, with men. For a minute, I thought she was lesbian, and I'm kind of more inclined to believe that she still is lesbian. But go girl. But the point is that they can't marry her, but the youngest daughter, Taiko, already has a plethora of suitors who are all looking to marry her. And at this current point in the book, as it's opening, she's already have a boyfriend that she has to keep undercover. She can't really talk about. She has to see him in, the darkness, underneath the darkness of night, that sort of thing, in order to maintain her family's face and honor. But, that is where a lot of her troubles arrive, because she desperately wants to marry this man, but she can't marry him until her oldest sister, the sister of Yukiko, is married. And Yukiko is a struggle, girl. She is a struggle. Like, girl, we went through this book going through probably about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different, now that's too many, different marriage engagements and proposals, but each time Yukiko couldn't find a suitor. And while that plot line is kind of the overview of the book, there's so many small, minute, subtle details that goes into it. A lot of it looking into the whole fashion, and I think the word is probably cosmopolitan view of Japan pre-World War II. And I think one of the things I enjoy most about the book is, besides the story of these 4 sisters, is that underneath all of that, the whole undertone of the book was the prepping of World War II, or the bombing of Pearl Harbor that was fastly kind of approaching as the book proceeded forward. But anyway, very loved the book. Very took me right in. At the beginning, I thought I was going to struggle a lot with the characters and their different names, but the author made it immediately clear who these characters were, what were their purposes. I mean, they were all so different, you know what I mean? Like I said, he just made it so clear, they were so distinct, that it was a really easy read to get into. So the Makioka Sisters is really ranked up there for me. I enjoyed it. I may be kind of overstating it, but, I love these kind of novels as is. So very much enjoyed that book. It was frustrating at times because of some of the characters' choices, but you have to remember as you read the book that from a cultural standpoint, and even from a time period standpoint, that things were vastly different back then.